Hi, everyone. Welcome to Pete's Epic Golf Podcast. Join golfer Pete as he interviews international and local golf experts and enthusiasts. Golfer Pete's guests are looking to share how his audience can improve their golf game by improving their mindset, skill set, and gear set. We ask our experts to share their practical tips on golf in one or more of these three core areas. Golfer Pete created his podcast as a resource for anyone who loves golf. Join Golfer Pete as he asks the questions we all need answers to in order to improve our golf game.
Hey, I want to welcome our viewers, Pete's Epic Podcast. We got a special guest, a real special guest, because I love the game of the mindset of golf. So we have invited Dr. Saul Miller to come on because one reason we have the Silver Cup, which is our Ryder Cup coming up at our club. And I thought it'd be cool to talk to Dr. Miller about mindset as we prepare for it. So Dr. Miller, just share with our viewers a little bit about yourself and so they understand where you're coming from as we talk on our podcast.
Okay, I'm a sport and performance psychologist, and I've been doing this for 4 decades. I mean, I've been doing this a long time. And I've worked with clients in the NFL, the NHL, Major League Baseball, Olympians, all kinds, probably over 35 different sports. And golf, of course, everybody is, I think, aware of what an incredibly mental sport it is.
Yes.
And I've written a number of books, and I had friends who repeatedly were asking me, when are you going to write the golf book? When are you going to write the golf book? And it just came time to sit down. And I mean, I had a number of golf clients, both PGA Tour players and all the way down to kids, really kids. I've worked with college golfers and young amateurs. I had a woman call me up one day and she said, my son is a really good golfer, but he gets really emotionally upset when he makes a bad shot. Is that something you could help him with? And I said, sure, that's kind of what I do. And then she told me he was 6 years old.
I love that.
Yeah. And so we did some work with both him and his mother.
Yes.
And but there is no question that you can work with people and give them some skill sets to improve their focus, to improve their emotional management, and just to improve their general attitude to playing this wonderful game.
Mm-hmm. So, breathing, when I came out of my stroke, I was in my PT early on, and it affected both sides of the brain, or the brain that affected emotion. So I'm breaking down in the PT and like crying almost. And the therapist like pat me on the back. And I know she was going like, what is going on here? But she taught me, she goes, smell the roses and blow through the straw. So I actually got flowers and little straws and worked on my breathing thousands and thousands of times because I had to retrain my brain to, when I felt the emotional rush, that I would breathe. How does breathing affect a golfer that's in like a stressful environment like Silver Cup?
Well, I'll tell you, I think that of all the things that I share with my clients in golf and in all the sports, I think one of the most important things, the feedback I've gotten, the thing that's helped them the most, is the work we've done with breathing. Mm-hmm. And why it's so important is because as we breathe, it keeps us right in the present. Mm-hmm. And when I'm working with people, I like to get them first. I have a 3-step breathing process. And the first step really is just to experience the rhythm of the breath.
Right.
The breath comes in and the breath goes out. And I say to them that the breath is like waves in the ocean. Mm-hmm. And you can always find the waves. And the waves will help you to stay more calm and strong. And that's what you want in playing this wonderful game. You want the ability to be in the present and to be able to stay calm and strong. I mean, you hit a shot in the bunker, you hit one in the trees, you miss a short putt, there's tension. You want to be able to let that go, and go back into the waves. The waves can wash away tension. However, everybody knows that if they want to be stronger, they would go to the gym, they would lift weights, and they get stronger. I know this. I tell my clients, I know this, but I don't go to the gym. So understanding what we're talking about, but not doing the work, isn't going to change anything. And people tend to do under pressure what they've previously done under pressure, unless they overtrain themselves away from the pressure. So if every day they're taking 8-10 minutes to sit quietly and just work with breathing, eventually they have enough habit strength, enough strength with their breathing, that under pressure situation, they take a breath and they have more control. So I really spend a lot of time working with this, and I assign homework to my clients to say every day, if you're silver, what were we saying?
Silver
what is
cup.
If you're silver cup players, have a month to prepare. Absolutely, every day, take a few minutes, sit down, go through this conscious breathing exercise, which is first just experiencing the rhythm of the breath, waves in the ocean. Second, it's to imagine there's energy all around, which there is. And every time you breathe in, you're drawing some of this energy to you. So it's a nice, smooth breathing rhythm. And the inspiration is the in-breath, drawing the energy to you. And then the third and last thing is directing the energy. And this one takes a little bit of practice. So having a month to work on this is perfect. You breathe in energy. On the out-breath, you imagine this energy flowing down from the shoulders, the arms, into the hands, right into the shaft and the head of the club. Breathing in energy down the arms, into the hands, into the shaft and the head of the club. Breathing in energy, and then imagine the energy flowing down from the hips and the quads and the calves right into the soles of the feet. So you're grounded, you're solid. Again, energy in, energy flowing down. And then last of all, breathing in the energy and allowing it to flow up into your eyes. And that ability to create a nice smooth flow, to draw in power, to get the energy flowing through you, arms, hands, legs, feet, and head. If energy is flowing through you smoothly, and you have a nice smooth swing, and you have a clear picture of where you want to hit the ball will go there. The ball has no energy of its own. It gets its energy from you. And that ability to create that feeling, and we work a lot with that, on that subject with my clients. Eventually they're able, even in pressure situations, to create that feeling of energy flowing through them and that smooth swing. And it's interesting because I was reading an article in Golf Digest not too long ago of Scotty Scheffler when he was playing great. And he said, when I'm playing my best, I'm focused on the target and the shot shape. I am not focused on swing mechanics. He said, I'm not thinking about that at all. I'm thinking about a good rhythm and a smooth feeling where I want the ball to go. So we have to be able to work with creating that smooth feeling. It takes practice. And a clear vision of the shot, the target, the shot shape, the good feeling, and you increase the consistency of the ball going where you want it to go.
That's good. Now, I know when you talked about attitude, self-talk, what part of that are you focusing on when you're doing the swing? So I know the breathing, the feel, the focus, and the attitude. So can you talk to our people about, I have plenty of people that say, that self-talk is a bunch of baloney. Can you address the self-talk part of golf?
Well, absolutely. I mean, the very basic rule, mental science rule, is we get more of what we think about. And like anything else, we have to train ourselves to think, I'm a good golfer, or I'm becoming a good golfer.
Mm-hmm.
And I encourage clients to pick several reasons why you're good. You know, I hit long and straight. I have good touch around the greens. I'm a good putter. You can stand up over a putt and you're thinking, don't miss. You create tension in the system.
Yep.
And that's what happens. So, you know, it's teaching yourself to say, this is going in the hole. I mean, it's seeing it, it's having the feel for it, and it's believing this is going in the hole. So how we talk to ourselves is important. And, you know, it's very interesting. A lot of the golfers, and I write about this in Winning Golf,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of them have affirmations about, you know, I'm a great player. I think it was, what was it? Gary Player. Here's a quote. He says, as a boy of 15 years old, I was consumed with the game. I stand in front of a mirror and say over and over, you're the greatest golfer in the world.
Mm-hmm.
It was absurd. It was absurd, but something told me it mattered.
Yeah.
Johnny Miller says the same thing. As growing up, his dad would say, you're the greatest, you're a champ. And it's how we talk to ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
If we're thinking, don't miss, we create tension, and that interferes with that smooth flow. And it really comes down to love and fear.
Right.
These are the core human emotions. And whenever we're thinking don't or but or any of those kind of anxious thoughts, we create tension. There's fear in that thought.
Right.
And one of the exercises, again, I talk about in the book, the release reflex, is teaching people a breathing tension release process. So when I do have an anxious thought, I can drop it, breathe in, which will clear the screen for a second, and then put in the positive thought. Mm-hmm. You know, yes, I can, or, you know, this shot is going there, something positive. So how we talk to ourselves is important. Another key focus thing, of course, is imagery.
Right.
And I think all the pros, I mean, not just the mental coaches, but everybody talks about clear targets, clear shot shape, or, you know, see the trajectory, see where the ball is going to land, where it's going to roll. We get more of what we think about. Mm-hmm. So if we're talking positively to ourselves and we're having that positive vision and we're creating the good feeling, we really raise the probability of the ball doing more what we want it to do.
Yeah, you know, I guess since I had the brain injury, I've been focused on the brain. And Jim Quick, he's got millions of followers, wrote the book Limitless. He talks about training the brain and different techniques. But I also liked in golf when you talked about predators. Explain to our viewers what you mean by selecting an animal.
Yeah, well, I mean, I often ask clients, again, to pick I call it stimulating imagery. I ask them to pick an animal that would give them the feelings they'd want to have if they were playing great, playing their best. And with elite athletes, not little kids, because kids have amazing, creative, and unusual responses.
Yeah.
But with elite athletes in every sport, 99% of them are picking predators. They're picking tigers, Tiger Woods. They're picking eagles, sharks, wolves, bears, Jack Nicklaus. They're picking, you know, lions, panthers, and so on. And my question to them is, what's the difference between the golfer who's a predator and the golfer who's the prey?
Big.
And the predator steps up, whether it's off the tee or on the green, to make this happen. The prey doesn't want to miss. The prey is like coming from that fear side of the equation. Don't mess up, versus being assertive. And, you know, I mentioned in the book one of my clients who was a professional golfer, and he was struggling on one of the tours. And when I asked him, you know, pick an animal, I think he said he picked an old dog. And I said, well, that's unusual. What kind of dog? And he said it was a Labrador retriever. And I realized he just wanted something comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And I told him, if you want to step up and make something happen, I don't think this dog is going to do it for you.
Right.
And so he switched to a lion, and he said it gave him more presence on the course. But absolutely, it's like, what are we trying to create? What are we working to create? We're working to create something that is clear and free and effective. And so we work with our feelings, we work with our thoughts, our imagery, and we put these pieces together. And the point you made earlier, Pete, which is very important, we've got to do the homework.
Mm-hmm.
Understanding is not good enough.
And the game of golf is like nothing else. And I agree with you when you said tennis is another game where everything's on you. I mean, you basically got to perform. You can't hide on a team. You got to perform. So I wanted to get your opinion on this, because I've always used it in match play, and I always play better in match play than I do just a club championship. I imagine in my mind it's 1-on-2. So if I'm playing and I have a partner, that partner, anything he does is gravy or icing on the cake. I play 1-on-2 every single shot. What would that mean to you from a sports psychiatry? What does that communicate in a match play situation? Is that something that would help a person, or is that too much pressure?
Well, I think it varies with the individual, but I think it's more of a predatorial mindset.
Okay.
You're stepping out. I'm relying on myself to make this happen.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I have a chapter in the book on the difference between introverts and extroverts.
Right.
Introverts are a little more sensitive, and so they don't want to overload. They don't want to take on too much. Whereas extroverts step into uncertainty. They want more input. They want more stimulus. So extroverts are a little more inclined to say, I'm going to carry the team. I'm going to do this.
Mm-hmm.
Introverts are going to get in their world to play some very good, solid golf. And then when the smoke clears, we'll see where we are, and I think we'll be fine. So
Gotcha.
but I think it's a healthy, positive mindset. If both guys on the
I
team,
agree. It depends on the person. I believe that individuals have their strengths, and they have to know what their strength is. Mm-hmm. What do you think when it comes to like life lessons? What have you taught over the years that golf can help people in, say, life lessons?
Absolutely.
Probably the younger people you really probably spend time with.
Well, no, I think it applies to everybody. I mean, it comes back to love and fear. I mean, this is life. And, it's interesting because I work with many young people, and I mean, like high school golfers, college golfers. And because they're very interested in improving their game, they're interested in doing the things that we're working on. Working with emotions, working with thinking, working with imagery. But as I often tell their parents who are paying for this, this applies to everything in life. These are life lessons. Golf is, challenges people to deal with some things that apply to everything. How I think. If I'm in sales, if I walk into a sales situation and I'm thinking, don't mess this up, as opposed to, I love to communicate about this stuff. It's entirely different. If I'm forcing it, people it's nonverbal. I'm over trying. People just kind of step back. I'm just looking, But if I, open to sharing something I really am excited about, people move into the space. So learning how to deal with these elements, I think, transfer to everything. And I think whether you're a younger person or whether you're, like us, very mature, then I think it's applicable to everybody.
Do you see yourself, because it seems like winning golf is like the accumulation of everything that you've learned and applied. Do you see yourself another book? Have you learned so many different things that you'd want to apply to another way of approaching. What's your thoughts on that?
I think I have in my mind 4 books more.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this was number 9. I have a
Okay.
book coming out in a few months
Okay.
on the mental side of cycling called Cycle Psyched.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a similar thing in the way, because I'm talking about creating the focus, feeling, and attitude to excel in that unusual sport. And again, I've taken 90 of the world's top cyclists and have them making comments to support these various exercises that we're presenting. I did that with a colleague of mine who is a woman who used to race for the United States, had some world records, and was quite remarkable. So that book is coming out in a few months. And then there's a book I've been working on for probably a dozen years, which is kind of like a whole bunch of stories of, I've been doing this a long time.
Right.
And I traveled a great deal. So it's a combination of work, this work and the travel. And then whenever I think about it, I almost think there should be a book just on love and fear.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes,
how this translates out to everything. Golf, talking to people like yourself about golf, has just, because of the emotional nature of the sport, has made it really much clearer to me. Love and fear, love and fear. I talk about it more in dealing with golf than any other sport. And so that's something. I'm not sure how to do that in a way that would make it engaging, but I'm really clear. It's just a little book on how these things really are at play. I think it was it Sam Snead?
Mm-hmm.
I think it was Snead who said something about fear. Something like, the biggest obstacle you have to playing well is fear. It really is like, I want to do well, great. But the flip side is, don't mess up.
Yeah.
Tension. Yeah.
Yes. I know you talked, there's 2 things that when you mentioned breathing, you had a quote by Tom Watson. Would you share that with our viewers?
Yeah, there's 2 great quotes. One of Watson's quote was, "When I learned to breathe, I learned to win."
Yeah.
And I mean, that to me says it all. And then Curtis Strange had a great quote too. He said, "Under pressure, the most important thing I have to remember is to breathe."
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. That is so true. I was, ever since I guess I had to learn how to talk, and breathing is everything when you're getting the vocal cords working again. So I was watching the PGA Championship this past year when Rory and Scotty were coming down, and I think it was Zinger said, they said, well, what would you, I don't know who asked him, what would you do if you were coming down the 18th hole and there's 15 million or whatever it was on the line?
Yeah.
And he said, breathe. He just said, breathe.
Yeah.
So I think the top players know it. It's just making sure you do it.
Right.
And I also love that one thing that you talked about in the book, like somebody says, like, I'll try. So would you address to our viewers the word when somebody says, I'll try?
Well, I often say to them, let's imagine something. I pick another sport often, but I say, let's say somebody is doing something, and the coach says to you, well, anyway, I'm going off in a direction. I think of it more as an example in hockey, where somebody is skating all over the ice and creating scoring chances.
Right.
And somebody is asked to go, you see that guy? I want you to go out there and stop him, check him, stop him, shut him down. And the player says, I'll try. And I think, Nike has the answer. Just do it.
Yeah.
It's perfect. To try, my wife always says, to try is to lie. Try creates tension. Try is, okay, I'll try. No, throw that tension away, breathe in energy and think, yes, I can. Just do it. So try is about tension.
Gotcha.
And
makes sense. Yeah, whenever somebody says, I'll try to make it, I go, just say you're not going to make it. Because, I mean, you don't have to make me feel good by saying you're going to try.
Yeah,
It doesn't mean
just,
anything.
just do it. Take a breath. But in saying it, there's some angst. There's the uncertainty comes out there. And I'm saying we have to learn to use the anxiety, the uncertainty, the doubt. We have to learn to use it as a stimulus, to drop it, to throw it away, to breathe, a stimulus to breathe in, which will clear the screen, and then we see what it is we want to manifest. We see ourselves making the shot. I have a client who's a shooter, an Olympic shooter, and when I asked him pick an animal, he chose a rock.
A rock?
And the rock. And it's a good example. I mean, especially in that sport, which, like golf, requires you can't get too upset about an off shot. And, you know, with the rock, waves can pound on the rock is there. Birds can fly over and poop on the rock is there. Nothing bothers the rock. It's a presence. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see a golfer on the tour, not too distant future, who is the rock.
Yeah, I mean, it does. I mean, hey, what the rock's a rock. A rock is rock. Yeah, that is a kind of like not a predator, but it has the same communication, like solid.
It's a presence.
You're not moving a rock. It's going to be steady. It's going to be there.
Right.
What about? I don't know who you quoted in your book, but you were talking about being grateful, and grateful as kind of. I don't know if it was a pro that talked about it, but I
think it was Homa.
Oh, yes, it was. Yes. Okay. Yeah.
And he said that gratitude, he says he has, I don't know how many grateful things he says every day. And again, absolutely, it's an appreciative kind of thing. And I think and you can understand this so well because you love this game, and your ability to play and enjoy it as much as you did was kind of taken away somewhat.
Right.
And you can understand how people should be so grateful to be able to go out and play the game.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, like I was just talking to my friend, and you know, we were talking about that. And I have a friend that had a back injury, and we played like years growing up, and I couldn't understand how I would talk to him, and he's not playing anymore. And I played 5 days a week before my stroke. It was like after work, every chance I'd get, I'd go out there and play. But when I couldn't play for almost 2 years, it did have like out of sight, out of mind. Then when I started doing podcasting, I got the same excitement talking about it. It was like like I was actually playing, but obviously not. But I think it got the same juices going because, you know, I'm talking to you about the mindset, and we're talking about different things that you have to prepare for. And it kind of gets the body going because you're thinking, oh, wow, you know, what a way to absorb the game through a different mechanism. I had a guy, he's in my gym, and he signaled me in. I was walking by. 45 minutes later, we're talking golf. You know, it's like stories after stories. He's 82 and I'm a little bit south of that. But yeah, when you start talking about golf, it's like you can talk for a long time.
Well, especially somebody like yourself who played for a long time, who had a great passion for it. So you can stimulate those experiences through getting back into the sport in a different way. Yeah.
What do you think, like, in working with just regular athletes versus professional, when you're making that transition to golf, is there a difference in who you've worked with over the years? I mean, tell our viewers like the mindset of a professional athlete versus somebody that's just a good golfer.
Well, I think with professionals, I mean, there's a commitment and there's a discipline and there's a determination and a discipline. There's some of that with, a recreational golfer but what distinguishes, there's a great quote. I just came across it this morning. Steve
Hmm.
Kerr, the
Yeah.
basketball guy, he
Yeah.
said, the best players are the best because they love the game. The amount of time, energy, and effort it takes to be special, can only happen if the game brings you joy.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. I mean, the pros, they put in all this time and effort and energy. They're working out, they're working on swing mechanics, they're working on the mental game, they're doing everything. And that's the difference. The other person, they want to do well, but they're not investing quite as much in it. And that's understandable. There's that old line, and I think I quote it in the book, that if somebody's shooting less than 90, then they're taking time away from work. And if they're, that kind of thing, it's, if you're real serious about the game, let me see if I can actually find the quote. But I think it's a wonderful sport, and I think people should just enjoy it.
Yeah. What do you think? Because my partner's a non-golfer, and so, but he gets a lot of joy out of the business side of it.
Yeah.
What have you seen in your 40 years of being in the industry and teaching mindset? What do you think that the business side, how does that work with golf and what you've seen in your experiences?
Well, I just think, as I said before, that I'm not sure if I'm understanding the question. I think that
Using golf as a business, using golf in business, I guess would be. Do you see it like helping and part of people understanding that when they're out there? Do they understand how business and golf can go together?
Well, I think certainly, as I said before, sales, when I talk to various business groups, sales management, and so on, I like talking to the sales guys most because they are like athletes. They have targets, they have to work hard, there are emotional issues that they're dealing with. As I said, if they're pressing too hard,
Right.
people move back. So
Yes.
they have to learn to visualize what they want, anticipate difficulties, stay with the waves, create the good feelings. So certainly, if you're playing the game, it can help you to learn some skill sets that will translate to business.
Mm-hmm.
I also think that the golf context, going out on the course, interacting with people, is a great milieu for establishing relationships and developing relationships that can be very beneficial in business. The quote I was looking for was, the proper score for a businessman golfer is 90. If he's better than that, he's neglecting his business. And if he's worse, he's neglecting his golf. It's a kind of fun.
That's good. That's good. Yeah. What do you think goals for an amateur golfer? How would you talk to people that are just using it as a recreational sport? Should they set goals, and why?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, goals are, if you want to improve,
Mm-hmm.
what's the goal? What are you striving for? I mean, somebody says, well, I want to win the club championship, or I want to compete in the club championship, or I want to. Okay, then what are you doing to make that a reality? If that's your goal, what are you doing to make that a reality? I encourage people. I mean, I'm working usually with, I would say more serious people.
Right.
But having said that, I'm saying there's a long-term goal. Somebody's working, a youngster wants to play college golf, wants to play on the PGA Tour. A Corn Ferry golfer wants to play on the PGA Tour, wants to succeed on the tour. So it's like having a long-term goal. And then what's the short-term goal? What are you working on now? What are you working on this month? What are you working on today when you go out to the course and you're going to go to the range? What are you working on? Having a goal for what you're working on. We get more of what we think about. So establish these short-term goals. I mention in the book, I call SMART goals. They should be specific. They should be measurable, attainable, and it's,
Reasonable.
with reasonable and within a certain time frame. So absolutely, it's just channeling your mind to do the work to create the result that you want. And wishing it is not, it's not good enough. What am I going to do to make it happen? This is my target. It's the same as the shot. This is my target. What am I going to do to make it happen? So I think when you go out to the course, I've even encouraged some of my clients, younger ones, to have a little book and write down every day what I'm working on today. If you're going out, to every day to play, what's my target today? What am I working on?
No, it's so, if you don't have goals, what are you shooting for? I mean, it just gets so broad that it's hard to know if you're improving if you don't. What would you say to like this? Okay, the mindset when I step on the course with this silver cup, each shot, what would you tell them to be thinking about? I mean, let's say we're breathing right. Would there be a thought? Would it be just something simple? Would there be something that you would advise the average recreational golfer?
Stay in the present.
Okay.
Be with the breath. See the shot you want to make. See the target. See the trajectory. Create the swing. Create a muscle memory to go with that shot. Stay in the present. Don't be going, what's the score? And oh my God, I got to do this. And he did that. That takes you away from where you are.
Right.
Be in the present. Be with the energy flow. Create the good feeling. And the great rounds in the book, I talk about the two guys who shot 55.
Right.
And both of the times they were just basically enjoying themselves.
Right.
And they didn't have expectation. They were recreational rounds. As a matter of fact, one guy went to the course to a friend of his, a parent who's related. He's a young man, golfer. Some dad asked him, the young golfer, if he would walk the course with this high school freshman who was going to play a tournament on that course. And he said, fine, he would do that. And he had just gripped his putter, and he didn't even know if it was dry. He was like, he wanted to change it a bit, so he changed the grip on it. And he went to the course thinking he'd just walk with the kid, maybe take a club and hit a few balls, but basically he wasn't going to play. And when they met the kid on the range, the kid said, well, why don't you play with me? He said, okay, if my putter's dry, I'll play with you. And he went and got his putter, and he aced the second hole, and then it began from there on. And he said he was upset. He had a birdie chance on the first hole. He missed it. He got par, aced it, but he didn't even expect to play, and he was just playing, and things started to happen, and he knew he couldn't miss. You get into that mindset where you're thinking, not I'll try. It's a bit of a negative to say I can't miss, but it's thinking, yes, I can.
Yeah, it is really a reverse on that.
Yeah.
You're thinking that hole's as big as a barrel, and I'm going to make everything I look at.
Yeah.
And so you're doing that. I've only had one lesson in my life. I've just been a self-taught. And I had a friend of mine. He's 82, and he came out and he watched me hit a few. And then he just adjusted my grip, loosened it up, and I went out and shot 4 under right after that. And it was very relaxed, but he just got me to relax and let everything happen and just adjust it just slightly. And so I think it speaks to your relaxed thing is I was relaxed. Didn't think I was going to do like 4 under because I'm not that normally a good golfer. I mean, I'm probably a 5 or 6. So it's not like I go out and shoot 4 under all the time. So yeah, I think it does support what you're saying. I always like to know, as your 4 decades of teaching, What would you like to be remembered for in the impact that you have made, from the mindset of the many sports that you have, worked with athletes?
I would say, and I'm still very friendly with people I worked with years ago. I'm even working now with the son of one of the professional athletes I worked with.
Mm-hmm.
I would say I would like people to think of me as somebody who helped them perform better and to be a better person.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's good. That's good. Yeah, I think golf has a unique ability to amplify the character of people. And so if you can teach the fundamentals of honesty, integrity, and all the things that we self-taught and we self-regulate our industry, it does translate into other things in life. So what would you also, we always like to, because you've been a wonderful guest and I appreciate you coming on and speaking and helping our Silver Cup people get prepared, because we're red. I always wear red everywhere I go for one reason, Tiger and his attitude of getting out there and winning. And so is there somebody that you would feel would be a good guest for our show that you might be able to recommend to us?
Well, I mean, Richard Zokol has, former tour player I used to work with, has his Mind Track system, and he might be quite willing to be on to talk about that.
Oh, that would be good. I know of him. I don't know him personally. I met Nancy Lopez a couple of times because her girls played softball out of Albany.
Right.
So traveling, I met her, and she's just the nicest person.
Absolutely the nicest.
I played her courses down in the villages, and I just admired the way she carried herself and the way she performed. And we have a women's only summit coming up next year. Do you still have any contact or know Nancy any to be able to?
I do, but I would probably not want to ask her just because she's been very helpful with the book, and
okay.
I don't want to impose upon her.
No. I just when it comes to women in sports, we want to elevate them, and she's like
of course.
the top notch of what you would want from a person in sports.
And so, as you said, also, I mean, she's been the mom of several athletes. Her girls were athletes, and she talks about that in the book and how she responded to her girls differently than other parents who could be very hard on their kids and, not grow their love for their game. She's somebody, I think she's a remarkable woman. Yeah.
Yeah, the way she carries herself, and I don't know if it was your book or another podcast, the way she advised her girls playing in team sports. Because of course she played individual, but it's a different mindset when you're playing in a team, and that you're not an individual, you're a part of a team, and how you have to encourage your teammates, and you have to look at the team versus just your individual performance. And I thought that was really good when she addressed that. I don't know where I heard it, but it was.
No, I think we talked a little bit about
it. Oh, okay. It might have been. I mean, I listened to it 3 times, and then I said, okay, do I go back and listen to it again? Then I just pulled up a podcast. I don't remember the person. It was actually 2 of them. And so just to understand a little bit of that, because repetition, one is good. And I haven't played enough to apply things, which you always got to apply it. I mean, knowledge is not knowledge until it gets applied, and then you can see the experience that comes out of the knowledge.
Right.
But I know you're busy and you're helping people out there, so I want to thank you for being a guest on the podcast. When I can come back and tell you Red won again, then I can probably say, well, they listened to your podcast and they took some of your information to heart, because they don't listen to me. I'll tell you that. So it'll be good to point to you, the expert, and say, hey, remember we talked about breathing? Well, here's a little bit of a perspective of 40 years. And I think maybe they'll go, okay, that makes sense.
Well,
So,
it's often the case when I'm talking with clients that parents say, and I had this experience with my son, who was a really good collegiate athlete.
Yeah.
They've heard it from their dad a number of times.
Right.
And this is somebody else. And, you sound like you're this Ryder Cup, the dad of the team. So there you go.
I don't know about that, but I do love it. I geek out on it and I have fun doing it. But how can people get a hold of you and give us, I know the book, Winning at Golf. Is it Winning at Golf?
Winning Golf.
Winning Golf. Winning Golf.
Winning Golf, the mental game.
The mental game. Oh man, I love it. Yeah.
Yeah. Probably the best thing, my website, saulmiller.com.
Okay.
Or my email address, drmiller@saulmiller.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much
thanks for the invitation.
Spending some time with our viewers. We really appreciate you because you're West Coast. So we definitely thank you for being on. Thank you, Dr. Miller.
Bye-bye.